Let me share with you 3 of my best all-time driver videos. You know, driving doesn't have to be that complicated, especially when you get some of the secrets that I'm going to share with you here. Let's go and get started. All right guys, if you've been struggling with your driver, I have got an awesome video for you. We're going to talk about 3 moves that will absolutely kill your driver. You're going to lose speed, you're going to lose distance, you're going to lose consistency if you're doing these 3 things. And I'm also going to give you the solution to these so we'll be hitting it longer and straighter and have a lot more fun. Let's go and get started. All right, so piece number 1, that's what I call the fast backswing, slow downswing. Obviously, we don't want our downswing to be slow. We want the speed to be happening right at the ball, getting that acceleration right at the ball. That's what really helps us to get those long drives. But the common mistake that I see is when we're setting up to this golf ball, we naturally want to hit it pretty far. And in order to hit it far, it feels like the stronger we are and the tighter we hold this club, the better it's going to be. So if I set up and I'm really locked up with my body and I'm, got the really tight hands and I get that tight fast backswing, that ball went probably 50 yards shorter than when I would normally hit it. The reason for that is when we get tight like that and we get quick like this, what happens is we don't give our body enough time to load up in the backswing. We don't give our body enough time to rotate and to get that speed. So before we talked about an airport runway. Imagine a big 747 jumbo jet taking off down the runway. It needs a certain amount of runway to build up its speed and to take off the ground. Same thing happens in your golf swing. If I'm tight with my hands and I get really quick with my hands, the tendency is going to be to pick this club up, and now I haven't really rotated my hips, I haven't rotated my shoulders, and I haven't got my hands very far back. I've basically picked the club up with my wrist only, and I've made a very short swing. Now from here, the only thing I can do is to throw it with my hands again, get those wrists really active in the downswing, and kind of flip this club through, and I'm really feeling like I'm putting out a ton of effort. If you ever feel like you're on the golf course trying to hit your driver far, but the harder you swing, the shorter it goes, it's probably what is happening to a certain degree. If I feel like I'm putting out a ton of effort and I'm not getting that distance, it's because I'm using too much hands. Now the solution for this is really simple. We need to slow down that backswing. I need to give my body plenty enough time to turn. I can take a year in the backswing if I want to. Doesn't matter how fast your backswing is. All that matters is how fast the club head's moving at impact. So if I think nice and slow, what I want you to do is do this for a practice swing. Get up out of your chair right now, grab your driver or any club that you have laying around. If you got a broomstick, a handle, whatever you can grab a hold of. I want you to make a super slow backswing, and I want us to first focus in on this belt buckle of our hips. I want this belt buckle to turn as far to the right as we can get that to happen, and I'm going to let that happen over a really long period of time. So I'm going to count out my backswing 5 seconds. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, still focusing on that backswing or my belt buckle turning. 4 1,000, 5 1,000. Now when this happens, you'll notice my right leg is going to extend just a little bit to let my hips turn. If my knee stays really locked in and forward, you'll see I can't really rotate my hips. My knee has to straighten slightly as that happens. When you're doing this, make sure that knee doesn't turn out. When that happens, when my knee turns out, the inside of my right foot's going to come off the ground, and now I'm going to tend to sway with my hips when I'm doing that. That's another mistake that I see when people are trying to make a bigger backswing. They get those hips swaying to the right instead of just rotating to the right. So that's really important. 5-second backswing. We're going to pause for a second at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Really load it up. Don't worry if you're not flexible, just go as far as you can. I'm going to pause for a second, and then I'm going to swing on through and make a good full turn all the way around to the finish. That's going to be my first key for the slow backswing. Piece number 2 is I'm going to make my hands make a big circle on the way back. I'm going to envision that in that same 5-second backswing, there's a giant hoop here that's allowing my hands and arms to go back as wide as they can. So again, 1 1,000, 2 1,000. Look how wide my hands are. Notice my thumbs, they're pointed down. So this would be down, this would be ulnar deviation, this would be radial deviation. Thumb up or back toward my chest would be radial deviation, down would be ulnar deviation. Don't have to memorize the terms, but if my thumbs are down, I'm very wide here. I'm creating this big arc, giving myself plenty of time to create that speed. If my hands pick my thumbs up really quickly, now you can see my thumbs are pointing more up toward the sky, now I don't have as much time and space. I'm really getting that club to whip back very soon rather than loading up like you're seeing the best players, Adam Scott, Tiger Woods in the early 2000s, Ernie Els, a lot of great players getting some tons of width in the backswing. Davis Love III, another big hitter with a lot of width. So I'm doing the same thing, 3 1000, 4 1000, 5 1000. And again, I'm just going as far as I can with my natural flexibility. And then from there, I'm gonna go ahead and swing all the way on around to a good full finish, concentrating just on the hands. So we've done the hips, and now we've done the hands, and that's gonna slow down that backswing and get that good full rotation on the way back so we can do the downswing. Now the last piece here is when we're thinking about getting that speed, I've got plenty of time. Now my hands and my body are really loaded up. I've got all this space to create this speed versus if I just pick it up with my hands and arms, I'm going from here to there, not gonna be very easy. Now I've got all this space because I'm much farther back. So how do I finish this off? What I want you to imagine is you're gonna get the swoosh of this club head to happen in front of this tee. We call this a straight line release. I want this club to be accelerating through the ball and going to the release point, which is in front of the golf ball. If we want to be consistent, the golf ball has to get in the way. I can't swing at the golf ball or I'm being incredibly inconsistent. I need to swing through the golf ball to my release and just let the contact happen. So once I've done my 5 or 10 hips, 5 or 10 hands going back, now I want to concentrate 5 or 10 swings, nice slow backswing, but I'm really accelerating to that release point out in front. I'm not even going to worry about what's happening at contact. So if you're outside, if you're at the driving range, go ahead and put a tee in the ground. We're going to do the same 5-second backswing, 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000, 5 1000. I'm going to pause. Now in my mind's eye, I'm only focusing on there, and I'm going to swing as hard as I can to that position. Now again, don't have to worry about, don't do anything that's going to hurt yourself. Just swing as fast as you can comfortably, and that's going to time up that long, slow backswing, good acceleration through the ball. That's going to be your best friend when you're trying to hit those booming drives. All right, so now we're ready for key number 2. It's what I call the drag and drop. And what this means is if I'm coming through contact and I'm just dragging my hands through contact, if I feel like I'm pulling the butt end of the club just straight toward the target, feeling like my hands can move toward the target as fast as I can, there's a big problem with that. That's going to leave my club face wide open. Notice as I drag my hands through here, look how the face is pointing way out to the right somewhere. I'm really going to struggle with my consistency. The reason I call it the drag, that's the drag move, and drop, is because if you do the drag, you're going to hit it over into the water, into the trees, out of bounds. You're going to have to go back to your bag and drop another ball out. You're going to really struggle being consistent with that. So we have to get this club head to release. We can't just drag it through contact or my face is going to be wide open. I have to get that club to square on up. And there's something that's very important when I'm doing this. There's 2 pieces here. Number 1, if I'm coming down really steep, so my club makes a very vertical angle here on the downswing, that's going to put me in a position where it's really tough to square up this face. I'm going to tend to just kind of drag the club through there, and now my face is wide open. Typical over the top move, or a lot of times people really struggle with this. Very, very common. We have the idea of we're going to pull straight through to the target. My club gets steep, I'm coming over the top, and now my face is very open. I'm slicing it out to the right. Well, if I want to fix this, I want to shallow out the club to start the downswing. So here's what I want you to imagine. I want you to grab this club straight up and down vertical like this, and I want you to rotate it to the right. So if you notice my left hand, my logo of my glove is going up to the sky, and I'm even going more exaggerated until it's turned this way. My right hand, if I was to go ahead and have that open up, now it's more toward the sky. Well, if I turn and make my backswing and put my hands together, that's a very shallow move. I've shallowed out this club. I'm exaggerating here a little bit, kind of like a Sergio Garcia, but I'm really shallowing out that club. Well, from here, from this shallowing position, this much more shallow position, it's very easy to get this club to kick out, inside out, and square through the ball. If I'm getting steep, I'm going to tend to drag this club through and have it open. If I'm shallow, I can get my body to rotate on through. The club's going to accelerate and catch up in front of my body. But the big key with this is now my straight line release is going to be in the front, just like we talked about earlier. If I'm dragging it on through, I'm never getting to my straight line release. I'm just holding off right on through it, or I feel like I'm trying to hold this angle all the way through there. I've got to get this club shallow, and then I'm going to let it release to my straight line release. Notice how the face here is going to turn on over and be about 45 degrees closed. So if this is dead square, that face is going to turn on over at my straight line release, and the toe of the club is going to rotate around. That's what allows you to help hit the ball straight. If I feel like I'm dragging, the face is open, it stays open, and then I'm going back to my bag to drop again. So to get this drill down, let's do a two-piece drill here. Number one, I want you to do 5 or 10 of these where we just rotate the club to the right. Once we rotate it to the right here where it's parallel, grab your hands together like your golf swing and go to the top of your swing, and now you're going to feel like this is really, really laid off, super flat. I'm exaggerating here. We're not worried about getting exactly right. We're just going a little too much at first. So that's the first piece. A few of these, get the club parallel. I'm going to put my hands together, and now I'm going to go to the top of my backswing, and my club is going to be very shallow. From there, I'm going to let this club release to my straight line release. Now my hips, my shoulders, my club, everything's pointed out in front, and my club is rotated around about 45 degrees. You're going to get the sensation that this club head is turning on over under its own momentum. It's not being drugged through and the face is holding open. We're letting that club face go ahead and rotate on around and release on around. So it's that momentum of the club face releasing that's going to help you from dragging the club and getting that slice. So once we've hit this position, we've gone to our straight line release about 10 times. Now we're going to go ahead and make about 10 practice swings, just concentrating on the same thing. Feeling that flatter swing and then letting that release out in front another 10 times. Now that we're good to go, we're going to go ahead, go to the driving range and hit a few shots doing this, get that nice little draw so you won't be holding off on the club at all. Piece number 3 is absolutely the simplest one. It's really, really easy to do. What we want to avoid is having those concrete hips. Just like we talked about in the first piece, I need to load up my body, get this big rotation, so now I have all this space to create speed in my downswing. Nobody can create speed with a little tiny short backswing. You can't do it. Doesn't matter how big and strong you are, you're losing out 30, 40, 50 yards on the drive if you're only taking the club back to here. Well, when we have what I call concrete hips, what's happening is I really want to make sure that I'm hitting this ball. So I don't want to take my eye off of it. And a lot of times, I think everybody struggles with this, is we get locked in on the ball. All of our focus is on the golf ball, and now I'm afraid to turn my hips away. You can almost imagine like you're sitting in a giant barrel and you're full of concrete and your hips are locked in here. Everything's facing the ball, and now I don't want to move my hips, and I just kind of swing all arms and hands. And even if I hit it right down the middle, pretty solid, just not going to go anywhere. That probably went 50, 60 yards shorter than what I'd normally hit a drive. That's because I haven't let my body rotate to get the speed. Again, the more I rotate, the bigger my backswing, the more speed that I can create, and the farther it's going to go, the easier it's going to be to hit. Also, the smoother it's going to be. So if you want that smooth, effortless power, this is the way to go. So all we're going to do for this one, this is by far the simplest tip, I want you to start out just by letting your knees kind of flow in the backswing. Now, this isn't going to be a real golf swing. We're going to exaggerate here a little bit, but I just want to get you the feeling of loosening up. So I want you to make a few swings where you just go back and through and really let those knees relax and loosen a little bit. Let your left heel lift off the ground in the backswing. Let your right heel lift off the ground in the fall through. Again, not a golf swing yet, just really getting loose with the knees. Now I want you to concentrate on those hips being loose. I'm gonna let them rotate in the backswing again, getting that big turn with the hips, getting the big turn with the hips coming through. And then finally, as we do a few more of these, I'm gonna concentrate on my shoulders. Everything really loose, good range of motion, go as far as you can back and through. And then my hands, last, making that big arc. So I've gone from my lower body, letting it rotate, letting it turn, to my hips, to my shoulders, to my hands and arms. Now that I've loosened everything up, I'm not stuck in this concrete, I feel like it's easier to turn. Don't be afraid if you feel like you're turning away from the ball. If I feel like I'm in my backswing facing back here toward the camera, or even up here, that's completely fine. The ball's still gonna be there when you get back down. You don't have to feel like you're in a rush. Take all the time you need to turn away from it. So after we got, as many as it takes, if it only takes 5 or 10 to get loose, or if it takes 2 or 3 minutes, 50, 60, 100 swings, whatever it takes to loosen that up and lengthen the swing is what you want. So we got to get rid of those concrete hips. Notice how my hips are going to rotate on this one, and we'll get some great speed with this. All right, guys, work on those 3 tips. I promise you, it's going to loosen up that swing, make those drives that much easier. All right, what a cool driving range, a cool course we're at here. This is Orange County National, home of America's largest driving range. This thing is pretty neat. It's over 400 yards across this with tee boxes all the way around. Really cool courses. They hold the Q School for the Corn Ferry Tour to get your PGA Tour card here this year. So really cool spot. Thought it'd be really fun to come out and shoot a video here. Well, in this one, I'm going to talk about how you can shallow out your swing so that you stop coming down steep, and how that can really help you to unlock a lot of swing speed that you have built up inside. Now, what happens a lot of times, let me go ahead and tee up one more ball here. You'll see that if you're getting a little bit steep, it's usually a right arm wanting to push that club and accelerate the club. And early in the downswing, you're gonna see this club shaft is pointing well inside the golf ball. So if you look at where that's pointing, if I just kept swinging down that direction, I would slam this club into the ground 2-3 feet behind the golf ball. Obviously, that's not gonna work. So when this right arm gets overactive or active in the wrong way, we're gonna go over the right way here in a second. When it gets overactive in the wrong way, I have to slow down my swing, reroute this club shaft to get it kind of shallowed out. I usually stand up and flip to kind of help that action happen, and you lose a lot of swing speed. All that slowing down to reroute the club could have been acceleration if you're already in the slot, just accelerating all the way through the golf ball. That's what we're gonna go over in this video. Now, one of the biggest things that I see players struggle with, and they'll ask me, Clay, you know, I get that you're supposed to be shallowing this club out. I get that the logo of your left hand is toward the sky, that I want to kind of roll this arm in, but I just can't feel anything with my left hand. I don't feel comfortable doing that. That's why in this video, we're going to focus all in on the right hand. What does the right hand do? And I found that you're probably going to have a lot more success focusing on the right hand versus the left hand. Then you can kind of blend it all in together, and it's going to feel natural here after a while. So what I mentioned there and what happens when you're coming a little bit steep is typically in the takeaway, you're going to bring the club inside, and then the right hand is going to push that club into a steeper position here. Now, it doesn't mean that you're coming over the top. You may be steep and still coming from the inside, just standing up like that. That can be happening. It doesn't mean that you have an over-the-top slice. You may have an over-the-top slice, or you may even have a hook doing this. What we're talking about here is the steepness of the shaft. That's when that club comes back a little inside, the right hand pushes the shaft steeper, and then from there we reroute. We want to reverse that. So go ahead and drop the club and just take your right hand. Now to dress, if I take it inside, my right wrist is bending back. These knuckles of my right wrist are bending back. That's called wrist extension. That's your knuckles towards your elbow. I want to feel like my right wrist is pretty flat as I'm going into the backswing. So I'm going to do a few reps feeling like it's flat, and then going ahead and making my swing. Now you can do these right from your living room. Go ahead and make a good 10 or 15 swings, just focusing on that. We're gonna build this in a progression, layer by layer. I don't wanna go ahead and do everything all at once. We gotta make a few swings to get comfortable with this. So here, I'm just gonna focus in on my right wrist being flat in the first part of the backswing. I'm gonna do that by turning my body and letting that move the club versus me picking it up with my hands and wrists and dragging it to the inside. So I'm gonna do 10 or 15 practice swings like that, and then I'll go ahead and hit a golf ball here. There you go, another one, nice and solid. That would be down the left center of the fairway there, so good swing. So do the practice swings, then go ahead, if you're at a driving range, hit a few balls doing that. If you're at home, just do the practice swings and you'll be well on your way when you go to the driving range. Now piece number 2, let's add to that now. Go through this progression. My right wrist is flat going back, and you can kind of see that would be kind of flat, or like I was shaking someone's hand here. As I start down, here's what I want you to feel, and this is exaggerated, but this is really key to shallowing it out. I want you to feel like as your body opens, your palm is toward the sky. So that's really going to take this club from here to there in the downswing. Now that's exaggerated. That's too much. You're not going to get that shallow, and I don't want you to, but that's the feeling you're going to have as you finish the backswing and start the downswing to really get that club to move in the proper way. Now from there, I'm going to do another 10 or 15 practice swings, and that's really going to help me to come more from this way. Now the mistake that I think a lot of people assume is that if I get this club more from the inside, that means I'm going to swing way out to the right, and that's simply not the case. My hand is opening up, and then I'm going to be releasing that to square up the face. Once my palm opens, that's in a good shallow inside position, And now I'm gonna release it. This is what all the great pros are doing that I see a lot of players that struggle don't do. They're taking this club from the inside and then releasing that to square it up. So my palm goes from open here to square, releasing through the target and then coming on through. If you're looking at it from the camera angle here, my palm's going from open to going ahead and releasing to square and then coming on through. So I'm gonna do a good 10 to 15 reps of that. Let's go ahead and hit another golf ball here and notice how that club definitely shallows out in the transition. And I'm coming from the inside, but I'm not hitting a massive hook or really swinging way out to the right. I'm swinging squarely through the ball because I'm releasing that hand. Let's go ahead and try it out here. There we go, pretty solid. So the last piece of this and the final question I get here is, well, won't my club face be open if I do that? So when my palm is up, won't this face be open and out of position here? And actually, to solve that, that is true. You're gonna get a little bit of this move. Some people call it the motorcycle move where you're twisting your wrist. That would be me turning this club this way. But that move, when I'm shallow, this is closing the face. So if I took this club and I twist it toward the camera, that's closing the face, that's opening the face. So I wanna have that palm up and my knuckles back like that. That's really the key. That's the last piece that kind of ties this in together. I'm getting the club from the inside and then I'm getting those knuckles back to square the face up. So that looks like this. Again, all three pieces together. I'm gonna go really slow for you. Backswing, wrist is nice and flat. That's gonna get me on a great backswing position. Second piece, as I finish my backswing and start my downswing, I'm gonna feel like my palm is up toward the sky. Third piece, I'm squaring that up. So as I open my hand, my knuckles are rolling back, so it looks like this. I'm gonna go real slow and show what that would look like. That's why you see so many pros with their left wrist bowed. That's why you see so many pros with this elbow tucked in. That's why you see so many pros coming from the inside. It's that wrist move that I'm talking about there. Get those three pieces together. Again, make another 10 or 15 swings, and you're gonna really be able to feel like now from the top of the swing, you can accelerate all the way through the downswing because you don't have to reroute it. The club is already shallowed out on the angle that it needs to be on in the downswing. So let's go ahead and crank one more here. See just how far I can get this one to go. I'm really gonna accelerate through it. All right, I hit that one awesome. Hey guys, welcome back. I got an awesome video. It's really gonna help you out with your driver. I'm gonna give you some of my best tips to smooth out your swing, to hit the ball a lot straighter, and to have that great finish just like we all want. Let's go and get started. All right, so it all starts with our three transitions, and there's three major transitions in the swing. That's from when your club is sitting stationary behind the ball to when it very first starts moving. That's your first transition. So it's transitioning from stopped to starting the swing. That's one key area we want to get right. The second transition is from the top of the swing, starting the downswing. So when our hands stop going back and start going down. And then number three, when we finish the swing, when my hands come around to a good full finish, then they're stopping there. If I can make each of these three transitions really, really smooth, your accuracy is gonna go through the roof. It makes the golf swing a lot easier to control because it makes the face a lot easier to feel. We're gonna get to that even more in the second part of this drill. But let's start out with the first transition here. This is gonna be from stopping to starting the swing. What I want you to do is go ahead and let's knock a ball off the tee. Let's just make some practice swings here. And I'm gonna see just how smooth I can take the club from being stopped to started. Now, if you're doing this really good, it's almost tough to see when the club actually starts to move. So if you're watching just the club head, you'll see that I'm really making it slow and then going to the top, and then I'm gonna swing all the way on through. So we're just focusing in on the very first piece, but I want you to make a full swing back and through so it builds us into more of a realistic type swing. If I just set the club down here and I start my transition and then I go to there and then go back again and start my transition, that's great. But when I put a ball there, I try to make a real swing, it's not really gonna relate. You're not building that muscle memory. So again, let's do 10 total shots, 10 total swings, where we try to make this swing as smooth as possible to start our transition, the top, and then we're all the way on through to a good full finish. Now we're gonna bring in the second piece where we do 10 more going at the second transition, which is going from the top of the swing starting down. Now the key to this one is to get a good wide backswing. If I cut off my backswing short, let's imagine I make this first transition really, really smooth, but I stop my swing right here with my hands just about shoulders height, it's going to be really tough to be smooth. I only have from here to here where my hands are going to be at impact to create speed. Now, do you think you could create maybe 120 miles an hour club head speed like the pros in this little tiny short period of distance? Almost impossible to do. So we've got to lengthen this up as much as we can. The drill I want you to do for this is actually not making a golf swing, but just kind of making a practice swing with it. So what we're going to do, I'm going to feel like I'm turning around and putting my hands up above my head here. Now, this isn't a golf swing. Again, we're going to turn our eye completely off the ball. We're going to turn our head all the way back, but we're just going to make this as long as we can. So again, smooth transition, and I'm going to go all the way up here. I won't even look behind me until I get my hands as far back as I can go, and then I'll swing through. So really smooth, let the hands turn all the way back, and then I'm going to come all the way on around. So it's kind of goofy, not really a golf swing. Your head's moving around. You wouldn't be able to hit a ball doing that, but it really gets you to stretch out and get farther back. Now we've done a few of those. Let's go ahead and make this more like a real golf swing. You're still trying to go far back, but again, from when you stop your backswing and start your downswing, really, really smooth. Should be tough to differentiate between when you're going back and when you're starting down if we do this correctly. So there's the first smooth one. There's the second smooth one at the top. And then finally, I'm going to finish my swing with a really smooth transition also. As I come on through, I want my hands just to kind of come around and glide to a stop. I don't want my hands to do something like this and really rebound and kick the club back. I want my hands to come through and really slow down very smooth. Let that club come all the way around your head until it's wrapped around. If you're not as flexible, it's completely fine. You don't have to worry about going all the way around like you'd see with Adam Scott or somebody like that. Just go as far as comfortable with you. Now, when I put all three of these together, and after I've done, a good 5 to 10 practice reps with each of those pieces, start, top, and finish, now I can make a good swing hitting a ball. So I'm going to feel like these transitions are so smooth, but because I'm creating so much space, you'll be surprised how far this ball actually goes. Just listen to the sound of this when I hit it, even though it's nice and smooth. There we go. That was rocked right down the middle, straight as a string. I would be thrilled with that shot, but I never felt like I rushed at any part of the swing. Let's go ahead and talk about the second piece. All right, now we're going to work on face direction. I got a really easy drill for you here. What causes the ball to draw is when my path or the direction I'm swinging is to the right, but my face is turning on over to the left. So in this drill, we're really going to exaggerate. Probably don't recommend that you work on it with a big pond in front of the tee box. It's probably not the best idea because we're going to be hitting some crazy shots here, but we're just going to really work on getting that ball to curve a ton to the right, from right to left, and then we're going to go the other way, get it to curve a ton from left to right. So we're really getting a big draw and then a big fade. From there, it's much easier to straighten things out. What I'm going to feel when I'm doing this, let me go ahead and move this ball. I'm going to feel like I turn my entire body inside out. So or kind of where it's swinging the club inside out. So if here's me setting up square at address, I'm going to turn everything like there's a giant plane of glass going here out to the right, and then I'm going to swing down that plane of glass. That's my inside out swing. Go ahead and do this maybe about 15 or 20 times just to get comfortable swinging out to the right this way. Now you'll notice here my shoulders and my hips are much more closed. You'll notice that most of my weight's going to feel like it's on the right foot. So as I'm coming and starting my downswing, I feel like it's still on my right foot. I haven't jumped way up here, or I'll be swinging to the left. And I'm just letting that club swing on that plane of glass. Now once I get comfortable with that, I'm going to go ahead and let that face rotate on over. So when I would be hitting the ball, that face is going to be pointing to the left. So now I'm swinging to the right, but my club face is releasing and pointing to the left. That's going to get that ball, if we do this drill, to hook a good 20, 30, maybe even 40 yards. Let's try it out. Hopefully we'll be able to see this on camera. I'm not going to hit it very far. I probably would hit it the distance of the water, but I don't want to lose my golf ball here. But again, I'm going to imagine that plane of glass. I'm going to swing out to the right. Let's see if we can get this thing to really turn on over. Oh, did it get over? Oh, I may have cleared the water by about a foot, but it did exactly what we wanted to do. It's not going to be a pretty shot. You're not going to win any driving records with this, but you're going to get that thing to really turn that way. Now, we're going to turn the other way. Let me actually go toward the camera so it's easier to see. On the last one, we had tilted everything this direction. That would look like this. as I'm swinging this way. Now we're going to take that same plane of glass, we're going to tilt it in the other direction. You may want to move the ball a little bit farther up towards your front foot as you're doing this, but now I'm going to swing from right to left. So I'll get the ball out of the way, plane of glass is here, and I'm swinging really across the ball. This is a big slice. I'm going to have that face open as I'm coming through here, or pointing what would be to the right, to get it to slice across the ball and get a lot of curvature. So again, 20, 30 swings, just get very, very comfortable getting that shot, that club to curve across the ball, have that face feeling like it's wide open. Most players who struggle with a slice will feel like this is the easiest drill ever, and I'm really going to get that ball to curve from left to right. So that one sliced a lot, that one's got to be in the water. Oh, barely on the edge. So it's not about hitting good shots here, it's just about getting that ball to curve to the right, getting that ball to curve to the left. And you're probably thinking of this like, this is probably the dumbest drill I've ever heard in my life. Why in the world, if I'm trying to hit it straight, would I want to have this big curvature on the ball? Well, the reason is once we learn to slice and to draw, or in this case, hook and slice, then we can start to straighten that out. If I get a little too much slice, I can tap into the feeling I had when I hit a draw and just do a little tiny bit of it. And then when I get a little bit too much hook the other way, I can tap into the feeling when I had a slice and straighten it out from there. That's the absolute best way to learn how to straighten the ball out. Now let's kick it up a notch and make it to where we can actually straighten this out. Now we're ready for the straight shots. What I want you to do for this draw shot when we're going to start out, instead of having that ball curve 30 and 40 yards, now I'm just going to have it curve 5 or 10 feet. I'm going to line up slightly toward the right side of the fairway. So I'm lining up toward the right center. I'm imagining that swing path out to the right, and I'm going to do that same thing, except for this time I'm only going to do about 1/10 of what I was doing before to get that ball just to curve a little tiny bit. Let's go ahead and try that out. There we go, nice little tiny draw on that one. That one started down the right center, kind of stayed there, just barely turned back. That means I'm doing exactly what I'm trying to do. Now, if you try to do that swing and you slice one, and that ball starts to the left and starts to curve, we know we really need to exaggerate the opposite feeling. So whatever bad result you're getting, just have the opposite feeling to straighten that out. And I tell you, a lot of times people will watch a video like this, and they'll think, okay, yeah, I get the drill. I don't really need to go out and do that. I get the idea. I'll just kind of maybe practice that every once in a while. I'm telling you, I've worked on this with hundreds of students. I've had entire courses on this. We call this the ball striking master class. I've done really extensive drills on this, and I promise you, if you only do one drill, this is right up there with the best in the world. You want to drive it straight, actually go to the range, work on hitting these different shots, and taking those big curvatures, tightening those up, and then eventually you're going to get where you're hitting that ball dead straight with very little curve on it, and you're going to be able to change the feeling like that. It all comes down to having feeling and awareness of where this club face is, and that's what's really going to help you to hit the driver straight. So don't skip this part of the drill. This, I can't stress, maybe not the most exciting drill in the world, but I tell you, it's going to help your game more than anything else. All right, this part I call lift to launch, and you're going to lift your lead shoulder, your lead hip, and your lead arm to launch the ball. It's going to help you to launch it higher. It's going to help you to get a lot more speed. So like we talked about in some of the other videos, is you got to have a lot of lag to create that speed. This is getting a good angle between my forearm and my club. Now from here, the only way to get speed is I have to get rid of this angle out in front of the golf ball. The straight line release, like we talk about in the top speed golf system, happens in front of the ball. I'm taking this lag, I'm releasing it to the straight line release. The ball's just getting in the way. Now, if I want to get this club to really whip through there with a lot of speed, I have to turn up the handle as hard as I can, and that starts from the ground up. We're going to lift from our hip, our shoulder, and then our arm. Now, the first piece of this is starting from the lower body. As you start your downswing, let's go ahead and get a little bit of a squat here to feel like we're really loaded up into the ground. Now, as we're starting to come down farther, my hands are going to get pretty low. You notice how they're fairly close to the ground, and from here, I want to feel like I lift my front hip. So if you were imagining you were going to kind of squat down like this and lift your hips toward the target, that would be what's called extension, and you can see how my hips are moving upward as this is happening. Same thing's happening in the golf swing. I'm just turned sideways as I'm doing that. Watch my hips and how they lift as I'm coming on through. All I'm doing there is I'm adding rotation with the move where we're just lifting straight up. When you put those two together, that's like a golf swing. The second piece of that is the shoulders. Now they're rotating around just like we worked on that first drill, that plane of glass, as I start to lift my left shoulder and lift from my lower body, notice how this shoulder moves around my body and behind my body. That's a big piece of this club turning up to get the club to whip. Now, since my arm is attached to my body, it's kind of the last piece of the chain. If you watch just the logo of my glove or just my glove hand, here it's low. As my legs and my shoulder lift, that club is gonna, or that hand is gonna move up, and that whips my club through contact. So that's a big piece when you're starting out playing golf, or even golfers that are down to a low single-digit handicap, but you don't have that huge amount of club head speed like you see some players getting. That's letting the club do the work for you, letting the club accelerate under its own speed versus trying to muscle it through there with your hands and arms. So we have to lift to launch this golf ball. Now, we're gonna do a little practice drill here where I want you to bend your legs, get your knees far apart. I'm squatting down, my hands are kind of low, and then from there I'm gonna lift up and I'm gonna have my hands extend out and go nice and high. So the first piece just with the body is that lifting move with rotation. Then I'm gonna add my shoulder to that. This goes back behind my body. Piece number two. Piece number three, I'm gonna let my hands move up and come all the way on through. So that nice high long finish all the way coming around. Put those three pieces together, work on those. A good 20 to 30 practice reps is gonna look something like this. I'm going down, I'm pausing, going real slow, and then I'm coming all the way on around. You can see how that club head wants to take off and really speed up when I do that. 20 to 30 reps, don't worry about hitting a ball doing that yet. Then once you build some muscle memory, once you start to feel pretty comfortable doing that, we can take that to the course, actually hitting a ball. Start out at the driving range going nice and slow, and then gradually build up your speed until we get to the full swing. So now that I'm gonna hit this full swing, you'll see I'm not really trying to hit with a lot of power. I'm nice and smooth, but if you listen to the sound of the ball, it's really gonna have a good pop on it. All right, guys, work on those three really good drills. They're gonna help you with your driving, and you're gonna have so much more fun out there. In the beginning of this video, we talked about how we need to have those nice smooth transitions and make this big turn in our golf swing. That's what we call the power turn in the Top Speed golf system. It's probably one of the best things you can do for your swing speed. And in fact, our members within the first 45 days, on average, they gain about 11 yards of driving distance. That's a pretty good gain for a relatively short period of time. We've had members write in that have even gained 40 and 50 yards of driving distance. So it's really exciting when we think about that. Well, I'm gonna play a preview of one of our best power turn videos, and it's gonna show you how to get really wound up, get some more speed, and make golf a lot more fun. If you want to see that full video, just click the card that pops up on your screen or down below in the link in the description. You'll get instant access to that video, plus a lot of free bonuses. I'll see you guys soon. With the correct technique, we can all hit it with really good distance without a lot of muscular effort. And it all starts out, the very first thing you have to do is get a good powerful turn to load up the body. And it's not only in golf, but in all sports we have to rotate the body. At least 90 degrees with the shoulders as you swing to the top. Preferably, we can go even a little bit past 90 to really get loaded up. That's gonna allow us to have a lot of power. So we don't just have to look at golf for this. Let's actually look at other sports. They're rotating their body, then they're coming forward. So we have to get that load. We have to get this big shoulder turn to be able to create power in the golf swing. So in this series of videos, I'm gonna show you exactly how to do that. That's one of the first keys to getting power, and we're all gonna get at least a 90-degree turn, if not more than that. I think you'll be surprised at what you can do. So let's go ahead and get started with the next series of videos, and I'm gonna show you how to get this big, powerful turn. All right, guys, so before we go, let's take a look at this in action with some of the top pros. Now here we're looking at Adam Scott, and you're gonna see as he rotates to the top, good full shoulder turn. This is pretty typical of what I see with the top pros, a little past 90. Those guys are working on their flexibility, so sometimes they can get to 100 or even 110 degrees.